Good evening, ladies
It'll be good. Yeah, it'll be good.
We'd like to thank you for coming tonight. We have one very important piece of business. Know where your exit signs are, and take your phone and put it in your pocket. Take your camera, put it in your pocket. There's no recording, no pictures during the show, but if you want an encore, you can take all the pictures and videos you want to take. So sit back, the show is about to begin.
Into the flames shot through my ears, growing high and mighty dry. Cameras fire and flame and room, using ideas as my map. Yeah, we'll meet on edges soon, said I. Right means eat brown. But I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. And a soldier stands, I in my hand, let the mongrel dogs who tease. Did not become my enemy in the instant that I breathe. My existence led back confusion, but mutiny from stern to bow. Sing it with me. I'm so much older than, I'm younger than that now. Rip down all hate I scream. Lies in life is black and white, overflowing master line dream. Romantic flights of musketeers, foundation deep somehow. So older than, I'm younger than that now. Do it again. I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. All right, that was the Bob Dylan song we did back in the Birds called My Back Pages. And I usually start off with it because I take people through my back pages. In fact, I did it some years ago where I learned how to play guitar and banjo at the Old Town School of Folk Music. And while I was at the school, they asked me if I'd go over and teach a class. I said, sure. So my wife, and I went over to this class. There was all these little children with guitars as big than they were. And Camilla said, Roger's been playing professionally for over 50 years. And they got this glazed look in their eyes. She said, well, that's half 100. And they got even more glazed. I played a couple of songs, and one girl turned to the other and said, wow, he's awesome. The girl said, yeah, well, we've been playing for 55 million years. It's kind of a theme song for me now. I'm going to have to write Bob Dylan a letter and thank him for that. Thanks for the memories. Got my first guitar when I was 14 years old. The year before that, they gave me a transistor radio, which was a real game changer. It meant you could listen to what you wanted to listen to on the radio instead of a big wooden box in the living room with your parents. And I wanted to listen to rock and roll. So I used to ride my bicycle around Chicago with this transistor radio, and I heard this come over the airwaves. Well, since my baby left, I found a new place to dwell. Well, it's down at the end of the lonely street. I really go tell, well, I'll be so lonely, baby. I'll be so lonely. I'll be so lonely I could die. Clay didn't think I was going to do a full-on Elvis impersonation. But I loved Elvis, and I love that genre of rockabilly. I love Carl Perkins and Gene Vincent. Gene Vincent was really brilliant. Well, Bee-Bop-A-Lula, she's my baby. Bee-Bop-A-Lula, I don't mean a baby. Bee-Bop-A-Lula, she's my baby. Bee-Bop-A-Lula, I don't mean a baby. Bee-Bop-A-Lula, she's my baby, my baby, and you go, let's rock, and this great guitar break is coming out. But that was supposed to be the flip side of a song called Woman Love. And Woman Love has a guitar break like this. I got to tell you, when I met George Harrison, he and I sat down and compared notes about the first thing we ever learned on the guitar. First thing he ever learned was, he was in Liverpool, I was in Chicago, we were both going like, So I went down to the drugstore and got myself a book of the lyrics of the songs that I liked on the radio, and I taught myself how to play them. And I took my guitar to school and started playing it for the kids at school, and I found out something really wonderful. The girls liked me better. I had this great music teacher. She was a young lady in her 20s, and she played guitar and piano and lots of different instruments, and she knew people around Chicago who played music, and she invited this guy named Bob Gibson to come over and play for us, not the baseball player. And this is one of the songs he used to do. Well, who's out a calling? Well, hold my hand. Well, night is a falling, the spirit is a moving all over this land. Got to know it, build him an ark, build it out on the hickory bark. The old ark a moving and the water starts to climb. There's gonna be a fire, not a flood next time. Well, who's out a calling? Well, hold my hand. Well, night is a falling, spirit is a moving all over this land. World's not waiting for the Lord's command. Gonna build him a fire that'll sweep the land. Thunder out of heaven coming, Gabriel's call, and the sea's gonna boil, and the sky's gonna fall. Well, who's that calling? Well, hold my hand. Well, night is a calling, the spirit is a moving all over this land. Well. I like that. I went running up to my music teacher and asked her what kind of music it was. She said, well, that's folk music. I said, wow, I heard Burl Ives. He didn't sound like that. She said, well, if you're really interested, there's a new school just opened up in Chicago called the School of Folk Music. Why don't you go over and check it out? So I went over there with my guitar and just a little bit of an attitude because I taught myself how to play some rockabilly songs, and I thought, what are they going to teach me at a folk school? So I got over there. Frank Hamilton, the teacher, sat me down, said, play me something you know. And I played him a rockabilly song. And he went, uh-huh. He said, do you know how to play the circle of fifths? I said, no, I didn't know how to do that. I said, well, you know how to play the blues? I said, no, I didn't know how to do that either. I said, well, what about finger picking? Okay, I got a lot to learn. So I started going to the Old Town School of Folk Music 2 days a week, and that's when I discovered all the different folk singers like Josh White and Odetta, the Clancy Brothers and Tommy Macon. And what I was really interested in was Hughie Ledbetter, because he played a 12-string guitar. The story goes he was down in Texas, and he walked into a pawn shop, and he saw a big old 12-string hanging up on the wall. Now, he played mostly on the street or in saloons, so he needed a loud instrument, and the 12-string was twice as loud. So he bought it. And that night, he went to a party and changed his name from Hughie Ledbetter to Leadbelly. He said, "Here comes Leadbelly." He played all night long on the 12-string. Well, when I heard that story, I went down to the south side of Chicago and bought myself a 12-string. And then I had to learn a Leadbelly song to go along with it. This is an old gospel we used to do called Easter Morn. On Easter morning road, on Easter morning road, on Easter morning road, on me. One day when I was lost, they hung him on a cross, they hung him on a cross for me. He's marching up the hill, he's marching up the hill, he's marching up the hill for me. One day when I was lost, they hung him on a cross, they hung him on a cross for me. He bowed his head and died, he bowed his head and died, he bowed his head and died for me. One day when I was lost, they hung him on a cross, they hung him on a cross for me. On Easter morning road, on Easter morning road, on Easter morning road for me. One day when I was lost, they hung him on a cross, they hung him on a cross for me. One day when I was lost, they hung him on a cross, they hung him on a cross for me. Leadbelly influenced some other musicians to take up the 12-string guitar, and one of them was Pete Seeger. Pete used to tell a story about how he came up with this next song. I'm going to do a little Pete Seeger voice imitation here, if you bear with me. My publisher wrote me a letter in 1959 saying, "Pete, can't you write songs more like Good Night, Irene? I can't sell these protest songs you keep writing." So I got angry. You better get yourself another songwriter. It's the only kind of song I know how to write. Pulls a slip of paper out of my pocket. Said, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven." Put that little line, turn, 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 to tie it all together. I sang it well, never expecting it to be well known. And this guy I never met ended up and made a hit record out of it. If you want to hear Pete say that, it's on that Stories, Songs, and Friends DVD. Well, I had met Pete, but he didn't remember because I was just a kid in Chicago. He was scheduled to play a concert at the Navy Pier, and it got canceled for some reason. And Pete, being the wonderful guy he was, didn't want anybody to go away disappointed, so he did an impromptu concert on the loading dock of the Navy Pier. And I was one of about 20 kids standing around in the back there. I got to talk to him and said, "Hey, Pete, you're really popular now. How do you account for that?" He said, "Well, I think it's because I get people singing along with me, and they hear themselves singing, and they like me." So I'd like you to sing along on the chorus of this great song that Pete put together. To seasons turn, 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 and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to eat, a time to lose, a time to laugh, a time to weep. Here we go. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. The time begins, the time to lose, the time to reap, the time to sow, the time to cast away stones, the time to gather stones together. Here we go. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to give, a time to lose, a time to reap, a time to sow, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of need, a time you may embrace, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. I used to hang out in Chicago and go to Pete Seeger concerts as much as I could at the Orchestra Hall. That was really a pretty venue there. And he was the first person to ever teach me what sea shanties were all about, that they were work songs to coordinate work on the ship. Like they had capstan shanties for going around a winch and pulling up the anchor. They had halyard shanties for pulling the ropes and raising up the sails. And then they had forecastle songs for their own amusement. They'd sing in the forecastle or the forecastle of the ship where they lived. And this next song will probably be a forecastle song. It's about whalers, and I'm not in favor of whaling these days, but this is from 1840. Whalers are based in Maui. You know, my heart and prayers go out to the people of Lahaina. And these guys would be based in Maui and sail up to the cold Kamchatka region of Russia for 6 months to do their whaling. And you can imagine how happy they were to be rolling down to old Maui. And this is on my CCD album. It's a mighty tough life, full of toil and strife. We whalermen undergo, and we really don't care when the gale is done how hard them winds did blow. We're homeward bound from the Arctic Sound with a good ship taut and free. And we'll have our fun when we drink our rum with the girls of old Maui. Now learn this so you can sing it later, okay? Rolling down to old Maui, my boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic grounds, rolling down to old Maui. Once more we sail with a northerly gale through the ice and and wind and rain. In tropical fronds, then coconut lands, we soon shall see again. 6 blue months have passed away from the cold Kamchatka Sea. And now we're bound from the Arctic grounds, rolling down to old Maui. Sing it with me now. Rolling down to old Maui, the boys rolling down to old Maui. And homeward bound from the Arctic grounds, rolling down to old Maui. One more time. Rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui. After a couple of years studying at the Old Town School of Folk Music, I got good enough to get a job at a coffee house, and it paid $10 a night. Well, that's $100 in today's money. And as a kid, living at home, so I saved up my money, bought a nice Martin guitar and a long neck 5-string banjo like Pete Seeger had. And they came with hard shell cases, and I was really excited about that because I looked like a professional musician walking down the street. I used to write songs with Jacques Levy, and one time he asked me, is there anything you'd like to go back to? And I said, oh yeah, I'd love to go back to the Gate of Horn if I could. He said, well, let's write a song about it. So we did. I'm going to the Gate of Horn in my memory. Red light flickering on the tablecloth, a big dark beer in front of me. How I wish that I was there, standing at the bar, listening to Bob Gibson play on his fine guitar. He did a little ragtime thing, something like this. Gate of home, I'm glad I was Chicago born. Gate of home meant everything to me. I was barely 17, a little salty and a little green. Gate of home meant everything to me. There was Judy and Peter and Josh and Odetta, the Clancy's and Mary and Paul made it better. Roseman and Tommy and Vicky and Lou, when Roy was looking, McGuinn was there too. But then they came and tore it down. Songbirds scattered and they all left town. Gate of Horn meant everything to me. Oh, the Gate of Horn, the Gate of Horn. I'm glad I was Chicago born. Gate of Horn meant everything to me. Yeah, the Gate of Horn meant everything to me. So I walked down the street to the corner of Chicago Avenue and Dearborn, in the basement of the old Weiss Hotel. Albert Grossman had been in Paris, and he'd seen a listening room and a bar, and they were separated by soundproofing. He thought that would be a great idea for Chicago, so he started the Gate of Horn. And so one night I walked down to the Gate of Horn with my instruments from the folk music club that I'd been playing. And the Linelighters and the Theater Hotel were having a jam session in the bar area. And they weren't bothering anybody in the showroom. It was kind of cool. So I walked in, and Alex Hoslet from the Linelighters saw me come in. He said, "Hey, what do you got there, kid?" I said, "I got a banjo and a guitar." I said, "Oh, great, break out the banjo. We got too many guitars going." So I did, and I played with him until 5 o'clock in the morning. And that's when Alex said, "We're thinking about hiring somebody to back us up. Would you be interested in the job?" I said, "Sure." I said, "Okay, take this album home and learn all the songs and meet us back tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock for an audition." So I took the album home and put it on very quietly so I wouldn't wake up my parents. And fortunately, there were some songs I already knew. They were Bob Gibson songs, and I knew all his stuff. So the next day I went to the audition, and I was a little shaky, but I got through it. And Alex said, "Great, you got the job. When can you start?" I said, "I get out of high school in June." He said, "Wait a minute, didn't we meet you in a bar last night?" I said, "This is Chicago." He said, "Well, that's going to work out okay because we're going to record a live album for RCA in June, and we'd like to have you on that." So the Linelighters went back to California, and I went back to high school. It's a long time between February and June in Chicago, even if you're not in high school.
Yeah.
June finally rolled around, and by that time I'd forgotten about the whole thing. Got a long-distance call from California. That was a big deal in 1960. My mother gave me the phone. It was Alex Hoslet. He said, "You still want that job we talked about?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "Okay, we have to send a letter for your parents to sign because you're under 18. And when we get that back, we'll send you a plane ticket." So they sent the letter. Parents signed it, sent it back. And they sent me a plane ticket on American Airlines, $97.13. Chicago to Los Angeles. Took me a while to figure it out, but it was a one-way ticket. And they put me on a Boeing 707. It was kind of a new plane back then. Well, I flew out to LA, and they picked me up. Ken Cragen was the Linelighters manager. He picked me up in a red convertible, and he had his girlfriend in it. So I had to sit in the back with a guitar and a banjo and 2 suitcases. And they took me up to the Park Sunset Hotel on Sunset Strip. I've seen Sunset Strip on TV. They had a series, 77 Sunset Strip. I'm in show business. I could be a star. Well, then we went down to the Ash Grove where they were going to record their live album. And that night there was a play going on. There was a play called Endgame, a one-act play by Samuel Beckett with 4 characters. And 2 of the characters were in garbage cans. There was a man and a woman in garbage cans, and they pop up and say their lines and pop back down again. And this is years before Sesame Street. So I stuck around, and I met the man who had been in the garbage can. He was a young actor named David Crosby. And David and I hit it off. We both played guitar, and we exchanged some guitar licks, and we got to be friends. In fact, he taught me how to drive, because I didn't drive in Chicago. You could walk to everything. But he had this old Chevy convertible, and he had a sense of humor, too, because he put me on La Cienega Boulevard up to Sunset, and it's a steep hill, one of the steepest in L.A., and a stick shift, and I'm working the clutch and the brake, trying not to hit the car behind me, get around the corner. I did it. So, after the Linelighters gig, it was a record for RCA called Tonight in Person. They didn't give me any credit or picture or anything, but they paid me cash under the table. I made some more cash by being the opening act because the guy who was supposed to do that got sick. So I had more cash than I'd ever seen, and I was really happy about that. I wanted to go up and hang out in San Francisco at the Hungry Eye because I'd seen that on an album cover. And David Crosby said, "Well, I'm from Santa Barbara. I was just going up there. I'll take you that far." So he took me up to Santa Barbara, and his mother made us lamb and avocado sandwiches. I don't remember ever tasting avocado in Chicago. The next day, I bought myself a one-way ticket on a Greyhound bus. And it broke down halfway to San Francisco. But I finally got there, started hanging out at the Hungry Eye. Now, the folk community was so small back then that if you wanted to get a hold of somebody, all you had to do was call one of the clubs, like the Gated Horn in Chicago or the Hungry Eye in San Francisco. And that's what happened. The Chad Mitchell Trio needed a backup musician, and they'd heard about me working with the Limelighters. So they sent me another one-way ticket, San Francisco to New York. Chad picked me up at the airport, and on the way into Manhattan, he said, "We don't really have a trio anymore. One of the guys went back to college, so we're going to have to look around the village and see if we can find somebody to fill in." So we went to the village and looked at all the clubs. Went to the Cafe Wa and the Gaslight Cafe. Dave Van Ronk was there. He wouldn't have been right for the Chad Mitchell Trio. It was 1960. It was a year before Bob Dylan got there, so we didn't really find anybody. We flew up to Boston and went to Cambridge, Massachusetts, to Club 47, and there was this beautiful older woman with long flowing black hair playing a little Martin Parley guitar. I say she was older. She was 19 and I was 18 by then. And her name was Joan Baez. And she was doing this. Virgin Mary had a little baby, oh, oh, glory, hallelujah, oh, oh, pretty little baby, glory be to the newborn King. Mary, what you gonna name your pretty little baby, oh, oh, glory, hallelujah, oh, oh, pretty little baby, glory be to the newborn King. Well, some call him one thing, I know his name is Jesus. Oh, oh, glory, hallelujah. Oh, oh, I'm gonna call him Jesus. Glory be to the newborn King. The Virgin Mary had a little baby, oh, oh, glory, hallelujah, oh, oh, pretty little baby, glory be to the newborn King. Glory be to the newborn King. Chad Mitchell asked Joan Baez if she wanted to be in the Chad Mitchell Trio, and she graciously declined. And for good reason. About a year and a half later, she was on the cover of Time magazine as a queen of folk music. So we flew back down to New York, and we found a Broadway chorus singer named Joe Frazier. And he was right for the party, looked good, he had a good baritone voice. The trio got a record deal on Cap Records, and they got a couple of hit singles on AM radio. One about Lizzie Borden, and another about the John Birch Society. It was political satire, folk music. Well, that got us on the Bell Telephone Hour, which is really a cool show. It was a 1 hour show, black and white, live. And Andre Segovia was on that night. I was impressed because I loved his work.